Hi everyone, RFG here with the DLC update for BlazBlue Entropy effect. This time focusing on the character Hazama, who is an important NPC in BlazBlue Calamity Trigger, but was quickly introduced as a playable character in the sequel Continuum Shift. If you're unfamiliar with BlazBlue Entropy effect, you can watch my review where I break down the gameplay in more detail. There were actually some other pretty big updates that I did cover after the game's official release, and I've included links for my coverage of them in the video description. Like most of the other selectable prototypes converted from BlazBlue, most of Hazama's default moveset and movement options are pretty standard, but a few things do stand out. The first thing to notice is that he doesn't run, which puts him at around the same ground movement speed as Hakumen, but without Hakumen's base attack power and health. He still has a dash like other characters, so it's not like he's only forced to walk, but Hazama's dash by itself isn't great at covering distance. It does put him at a somewhat lower height, so you can avoid some attacks without relying on invincibility frames, and his dash attack is pretty neat. Triple dash is pretty much always recommended to allow for quick general movement, but his dodge frames for his dash are surprisingly active. The next thing to note is that Hazama's jump attacks keep him afloat for a brief amount of time. It's nothing substantial, but keeping the same height with his enemies during his basic aerial attack string lets him dole out a decent amount of damage, and when low to the ground, transitions nicely to ground attack strings. Adding in his hold down and hold up direction attack string potentials leads to longer, more damaging strings, and also can put him at a distance from enemies, with some parts of the string putting enemies at a nice height to follow up for his air attacks. These also provide air directional input attacks. The up air attack provides a little advancing kick that I found some usage for, but the down air attack felt more useful as it provides a nice quick close range area knife slash around him. Vengeful Viper, which is used by holding attack, can be used in the air, but isn't particularly special on its own. However, with an upgrade, continuing to hold the button puts him in the Serpent's Benediction state. This provides 3 attacks based on the neutral up or down directions, each one with their own benefits, with the up and down direction Benediction attacks able to go through super armor. This also has numerous upgrades like being able to access the state immediately and being able to dash while remaining in this state. Hazama's default MP skill, the Serpent's Unholy Wrath, is a 2-hit attack that covers a good horizontal damage range, and you can shift the second hit to the opposite side before it's unleashed. It costs 100 MP and can be extended with further hits and with a kind of opt-in, mid-extension, continuous stomp attack that uses more MP. Serpent's Infernal Rapture is Hazama's up plus skill button potential. It has a very large vertical attack range that can break super armor, guard, and it has invincibility with a 100 MP cost. Upgrading this can give it some added horizontal range and make it usable in the air. Jormungand is Hazama's hold skill button potential. It costs 100 MP and absorbs enemies' health within its area of effect. Its upgrade can increase the AoE. Horde of Hungry Souls is his down plus skill button potential. It costs 50 SP, covers both horizontal and vertical AoE, seems to have invincibility or super armor while active, and an upgrade can expand the range and increase damage at the cost of more SP. His Evotype talent, Gaze of the Serpent, is dictated by what types of attacks he uses. Close range and long range hits by him affect the damage received by the enemy depending on the distance of the hit. This may sound odd, but it actually fits with some of Hazama's moveset and Ouroboros potentials, both of which can be used to control his distance to and from enemies. Ouroboros was Hazama's drive attack in the main BlazBlue series. You can add plenty of effects by committing to its potentials, but at its base, it's used for traveling around the screen and handling your approach to an enemy. The ability aims in relatively simple angles, but there is a bit of control you can have. Depending on how much potential you decide to invest in Ouroboros, you can drag enemies to Hazama's position, stay in a swinging state, trigger an auto counter attack when dragging yourself to an enemy, and has an attack you can activate when dragging certain types of enemies to Hazama. There is a 25 SP cost associated with each use of Ouroboros, so that's something you should keep in mind when deciding what other potential options there are per mind training session, that and its various hidden effects. Hazama's universal enhancements work well for his playstyle. He has separate MP absorption enhancements for attacks and skills, one that expends MP to enhance attacks, one that gives additional hits for knife attacks, and one that decreases recovery frames for skills. All of these work well for Hazama's damage output. I mentioned that he doesn't have the base attack stat that Hakumen does, but his rate of attack is high, and depending on how you utilize his attacks and skills, you can take out certain elite enemies fairly quickly. He also has a large amount of hidden effects for most of his moveset, but a chunk of them are for Ouroboros, and can be tied to the specific states he can be in when Ouroboros is active, and going to the potential section of his intel menu is probably your best way to focus on optimizing his character growth. There are some things I didn't cover, but that's because I found the things here more worth mentioning, and some other things in the update that I'll try to cover soon, like the Icy crossover event. And in the meantime, I do recommend checking BC's shop for the new throwback avatar, which has some pretty goofy animations. But that's it for now. Let me know what you think below. Thanks. Bye.